So hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. I'm Dr. Anna, and we're going to work together today on task 2. It's wonderful to be here with you. We have a very nice and busy class. We're also streaming live, so welcome for those of you who are streaming live. You can register at E2 Language and also join us on Zoom. So you can go to E2 Language website and register for those of you streaming live as well. So let's get started. Please, in your chat box now, you can select. We have visitors today for those of you who are visiting our class today. Many new students here today, definitely. So welcome to the writing class. For those of you who have already been here, welcome back. And for those of you who are new, welcome to the writing class. We have a very busy class ahead of us. So let's get started. Buckle up and let's go. So there are many new students I can see in the chat box. Welcome to joining us today. So that's amazing. Let's get started. So today it's task 2, and here we go. Oh yes, at E2 Language now we have the group classes. I love the group classes. Yes, some are regular students here and some are visitors. Today we have the writing class. It's a free class, so we have many students coming in. So welcome all to our writing class. So we have at E2 Language now the group classes. I love these group classes because we can give immediate feedback to the students, writing and speaking. Graham, Sasha, and I were working together, so we share the classes. Check up in your E2 Language schedule for the times available for this classes available. You can choose bring your own essay or work with planning. So there are so many options. And as I said, it's wonderful because we can give immediate feedback to all the students participating. Oh, thank you so much. It's wonderful to have you all here. Now, we'll have a first round of questions. If you have any questions that you would like to ask, please in the chat box. We can use the chat box today. If I miss your question, forgive me, but I'll certainly answer it. Put the question back in. Sometimes the chat box rolls very quickly, okay? So let's get started. I think we're ready. Wonderful. So buckle up. So what is the strategy to write conclusion? Okay, so that's a good question. To write conclusion, in fact, conclusion, you should not bring anything new in. The idea of the conclusion is to wrap up what was presented from the introduction and from what was written in the paragraphs. So that is the job. That is what the conclusion is, the function of a conclusion. It's to wrap up what was written or to conclude in 1 or 2 sentences what was said in paragraph 1 and 2. And of course, restate your position. It's definitely important to plan your essay. In neurolinguistics, there is a process they study the way our brain functions when dealing with a foreign language. So principally with a foreign language, they also study mother tongue, but my studies are in foreign language. So when you are planning your mindset, it's like in a rush mode. So you're thinking quickly, you're jotting down those ideas, you're getting your mind, set within the scope of the essay that you're going to write. Once you start writing, it goes into a flow. So you're writing, one sentence will connect to another, the ideas will connect. If you have to interrupt this process of flow to generate ideas because you don't have a plan, this is very time-consuming, exhausting to the brain, and you may go off topic. So that is one of the main reasons why planning is essential. It will help you set the pace, prepare your writing, and once you start writing, you will be able to develop the writing and the flow will be better. You will connect the ideas better, okay? Let me see if I can. Dr. Anna, if the prompt is not about agree or disagree, if the prompt prompt is not about agree or disagree. Can we write both sides anyway? Example, question is related to opinion only. If question is related to opinion only, then you can choose a side and write 2 supporting paragraphs for that side, definitely, for the side that you chose, okay? Adele, regarding, good morning or good afternoon, not sure where you are. Doctor, regarding the writing evaluation service, would we be able to choose what type of graphs or diagrams to submit? No, in fact, you have already in the E2 language page, the graphs for task 1 or task 2, the prompts are already available there, okay? Okay, Musna, what are colloquialisms and what is a concession paragraph, when to write a concession paragraph? Well, it goes like this. Colloquialisms, of course, they are valuable, but only if they sound natural. You should not try to just shove it in to have an expression or something in your essay. It really has to sound natural and fit in nicely. Okay. Is it good to write? Okay, so there are some terms here that I can see: concession paragraph, rebut paragraph. This is probably that you've been doing some research, but all in all, what we really have, it's an essay with 4 paragraphs or 5 even. That there is this flexibility. You have an introduction, a body 1, body 2, and conclusion. Now, what's going to be in body 1 or body 2? It depends upon the essay prompt. So if you have advantages and disadvantages, clearly you have body paragraph 1, advantages or disadvantages, and body paragraph 2, disadvantages. Now, what's important is to select the type of paragraph you're going to develop, if it's a single idea or a double idea paragraph. And that should be done before the planning, because once you choose the type of paragraph, you will plan accordingly. So you won't really waste time. And once you start to write, you'll have a plan set out. We're going to work with that today, okay? So today we're going to be dealing with a very intriguing topic. We will plan together. We're going to check up on some of I'll try to give as much feedback as possible in the chat box. And we have a full sample at the end. We'll be together for approximately an hour and a half. So here we go. Let's get started. If I missed any questions at the end of the class, once again, I'll go to the questions. But during the class as well, if you have any questions as we are developing the class, please use the chat box and I'll gladly reply. Okay, so this is a nice question. What is the difference between PEAL, which is the single idea paragraph, and the UPEP? Well, that's a double idea paragraph. It's the way you write. It's the elements that you put in the paragraph. So let's take a look here. Oh yes, we have the tutorials, definitely. Let's suppose you're stuck. You've already written IELTS once, twice, and you're there in writing at 6, 6.5. Most likely you're repeating the same mistakes. So you need to be aware of your mistakes in order to correct them, overcome, and hit your scores. The best way to know where you're going wrong is an IELTS expert teacher. We know what is expected according to the band descriptors, so we'll be able to not only correct your essay, but guide you and say where you're going wrong, what you need to do to overcome. In tutorials, in fact, we will deal with all the students' questions: listening, reading, speaking, and writing. So I highly recommend. They're very productive. Do exceeding word limit in essay decrease scores? No, it doesn't decrease scores, but you have to be careful with that timer, right? So here we go. Let's get started. Do we need to write a conclusion to get a bad 9 in task 1? No, you don't need a conclusion in task one, academic. You don't need that. You need to paraphrase paragraph one. You need to write the overview and then describe the graph, but no conclusion, okay? So now we're going to focus on task two. Let's get started. Wonderful. So this is our topic today. The topic today is quite intriguing, I would say. Yes. So what do we have here? Yes, space. I know it's not something that we really talk about. Space travel, space exploration, wonderful. So space research, in fact, that's our main topic today. We're going to be dealing with space research. And today's task then, so many governments invest a great deal of money in space research. What are the advantages and potential disadvantages of spending money on space exploration? Now, this is the real question. The previous sentence, the first sentence, it's background information that is given. Let's think about it then. So, do governments in your country, do they invest a great deal of money, a little bit of money, or no investment at all? Excellent. It's wonderful to see you guys participating in the chat box. Thank you. And what are some of the benefits or advantages of space exploration? Can you think of any benefits? Okay. No advantages according to some students to explore. Okay. Weather, to know more about the weather. How external factors affect Earth. Okay. There are lots of nice ideas here. Weather forecast. So I'm going to open up the chat box a little bit so that we can share some information in this first part, but then I'll close it so it won't distract you. Okay, to broaden our knowledge, to detect disasters, or medical benefits, that's nice, of course. To know a little bit more about climate change. Wonderful, Maya, very good ideas here. And Muzna as well. Okay, thank you, all of you, wonderful ideas. Maybe one day the possibility of living in Mars, okay? So just to give you guys another piece of information is there is no bad idea, but there is a badly developed idea. So be sure to bear that in mind because IELTS, it's very important how you develop your idea. Now, what are some of the negative points? So what, waste of money, okay, expensive. It can be harmful, okay. There can be accidents and people can die, time consuming. Wow, some very nice ideas. High cost, if unsuccessful, definitely. We may have a problem with aliens, excellent. Okay, so we have good ideas here. In your E2 language platform, we have a wonderful resource which is called Vocabulary Toolkits. I love the Vocabulary Toolkits. You can go there. There is one specifically on space. Now, the vocabulary toolkits, they've been designed very carefully. Material has been chosen to help improve your vocabulary concerning a specific topics. So we present in the vocabulary toolkits questions for speaking, essay, an essay prompt, and a word list with examples. So definitely. So it's not really a link, Gallup. Okay, but I can share this link. Hold on, give me just a minute and I will share the link definitely. This link, it goes to our E2 language page. So here we go. And this is one of the recommendations of reading that is in the toolkit. So here we go. So in the chat box now, the recommendation. And moving on. So let's look at the structure that we should use to develop this essay. As each essay prompt, there is a specific structure that you can follow. So the structure, and make no mistakes, structure is important. It will be scored. The introduction and the conclusion are quite stable. You really don't have to, put up too much energy in it. You just have to follow the structure. Body 1 and body 2 is where you should really dedicate your energy to, which is where you're going to develop the topic. So in this type of question, you have to state your position. Even though the essay prompt does not ask for your opinion, but according to the band descriptors, it's important that you put in your position. And you should put your position throughout the essay. That's what the band descriptors tell us. Okay, so definitely you will have to put in your position. You could even put in your opinion, but if you don't really want to put in your opinion because maybe the essay prompt didn't ask for your opinion, your position you have to put in. Okay, it has to be there. So something like, in this essay, I will outline what I consider to be the main advantages. So what you consider, it's a position. The question asks for advantages and disadvantages. So then you have to discuss at least two advantages and two disadvantages because of the essay prompt. So this is body 1 and what body 1 and body 2 should look like. So Molika, position means I will discuss advantages and disadvantages both. Yes, definitely in this case, because let's check up the essay prompt again. So many governments invest a great deal of money in space research. What are the advantages and potential disadvantages of spending money on space exploration? So you have the key word here, and that means both, okay? So body 1 and body 2, we will use for this essay the structure of double idea paragraph. So my camera, you can reduce the camera, okay? You can click off the camera. There you go. If you cannot see the screen, it's how, Lulu, it's how you are probably, how you are using the system there. You have to maximize the screen, okay? So today's sample, we're going to use 2 double idea paragraphs. You could also go, let's suppose, for four single idea paragraphs. But I'm not sure if you can do this really well done in 40 minutes, because then that means that you would have to develop each idea more, because a single idea paragraph, you have to develop the idea. You have to present a point, explain, provide an example, an effect, and conclude. Here in the double idea paragraph, you will present your idea, your point, and extend. You don't have to put in so many elements. So it's important that you don't only list, say, you have to list and also extend with reasons and or example. So the intention of this extending is to show that your point, explaining your point, okay? So you can add a concluding sentence to the paragraph, definitely. It's not really necessary for a double idea paragraph, but you can. It does enrich your writing, definitely. So now that we have chosen the type of paragraph that we're going to use for this essay in particular, you will make your plan based on this structure already. Because if you plan based on the structure, once you start writing, you'll have all the information that you need to develop your writing without having to stop to generate ideas. It'll all be here, okay? So we're going to give you guys now some time for planning. As I said, I will keep the chat box open up to now, the planning, and then we'll close it so it won't distract you. Okay? So structure the same for general writing too. No, for general writing, I believe you're asking about the letter. The letter changes the structure. Okay? There is a different structure for letter writing. And that's, yesterday we had that class, and there's another class during the week. So be sure to join Graham, and you will learn all the details about general writing for letters. So is it double idea or single idea? Prasanna, this essay, we need to use double idea paragraphs or 4 single ideas, but definitely due to the essay prompt that shows advantages and disadvantages, you have to present at least 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages, okay? First, we start with the planning, and then we go with introduction, body 1, body 2. Definitely. Here we go, 3 minutes, and we will be back. As I said, I'll leave the chat box open now just so that we can inspire each other and help each other in terms of topics. But right after, I'll close the chat box. Here we go, 3 little minutes. We'll be back. Please put your ideas in the chat box. Okay, wonderful ideas. I was reading the ideas in the chat box. For those of you who are new to the class, you follow the flow. As we are planning together, you should be planning on your paper there or typing. We will develop this essay together. And as you put your comments in the chat box, I'm trying to read and reply. But today it's a very big class, so I may not be able to reply to each one individually. I would love to, but definitely save your writing and schedule a tutorial to check up on your writing. That's a great possibility too. Here we go. So what is the plan? Well, one point. Now, how can we develop this idea? Of course, generating ideas isn't easy, principally a topic like this. So you definitely have to challenge your mind. So from the ideas that I saw, many of you had wonderful ideas, really, but you need to ask yourself questions, really, challenge your mind. So what is the advantage of developing research? What can we get from that? What can be discovered? What have I read? What do I know about this? Now, most likely this is not a topic that you're very familiar with. That's why it's important to check out those vocabulary toolkits. There are 20 different topics, and it's important to have minimum knowledge of possible topics so that you don't get really stuck. It's hard to develop ideas about something that you really don't know. Definitely, Prasanna, explore those vocabulary toolkits after. It's called vocabulary toolkits. That's it. So point one, you can get byproducts that benefit people from these researches. So examples, sunglasses, medical devices. Many students suggested medical advancements, so that's true. Another point, you may find a new planet to live on, because we never know what can happen with planet Earth, right? That's it. So many students also presented this. It could be useful if we destroy Earth, so definitely. As I said, there isn't a bad idea, but there is a badly developed idea. So this class is for both general and academic. Task 2 is the same for both. Okay, Smita, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Wonderful ideas. Body 2. So money is diverted from essential services. That's one disadvantage. So as an example, the example can be fake. So just be careful not to have those very big general examples according to our research and so on and so on. You should try to make your example a little bit more focused. In this case, the US spends lots of money on space, but there are big social and healthcare problems in the country. So suddenly this money, instead of being spent on space research, could maybe be dedicated to these problem areas. Space junk, that's another issue. Dangerous and contaminating. Okay, so we have here. So as you can see, once you have already decided the type of paragraph you're going to be dealing with, you plan accordingly to so you're ready to sit and write now. Now, what is the umbrella sentence? For those of you who have already attended our classes and practiced a lot, what is the umbrella sentence? Okay, it's like a topic sentence. It can be considered that. It introduces what the paragraph is going to develop. So of course, once you have a plan, you can easily, it's like a backward process. You will know based on this plan how to write your umbrella sentence, because the umbrella sentence introduces what the paragraph will develop. Okay. Okay, Ziham, it covers and says what is coming. Excellent. So that's the function of the umbrella sentence. It's to be able, imagine this umbrella, the idea of an umbrella, that it covers everything. So it covers what will be developed in that paragraph. That's it. The general statement on the topic that we will use in the introduction, in that first sentence, in the general statement sentence, that's when we will use the general topic, okay? Excellent, very well. So all of your answers there concerning the umbrella sentence in the chat box, you're right on spot. Let's move on. Excellent. Now you have your plan, which means you are ready to begin writing your essay. Before that, let's take a look at the band descriptor. So This is the criteria. You should have it in mind always. You should take a picture here too. So these are the elements of, they come from the band descriptors, but in a more concise and I think approachable language. So it will be divided into 4 elements that you will be scored. Make no mistakes, if you're aiming for a 7, you have to get at least 7 in each one. If you get 1 6, your score will go down. So even if you have 8s, but when you get 1 6, then it will go down to 6. Okay, moving on, here we go. As you write, always keep the criteria in mind. These words, they are the words that we will use. They are the subordinating conjunctions and relative pronouns. We use them to build, let's suppose, complex sentences. Okay? That's the first step. Remember, the introduction does not have to be creative, but it has to be right on spot. Background sentence, reword the prompt. The reader does not have the essay prompt in his hands. So you need to reword it so he knows what is the idea of the essay to be developed. I'm going to close the chat box so it doesn't distract you now. I'll be reading all of the comments, all of your writings, so please send your writings in. The thesis statement now. The thesis statement is say what you will write about. Now, if you come back here, you see that you already have a plan. This plan now, let's suppose the thesis statement, what will you do? You will take the information that you have in your plan, and this will help you to write your thesis statement. So all the ideas that you are developing here, let's suppose, it will inspire you somehow to write your thesis statement because you already know what you're going to write about because you have a plan. So you'll be able to write a strong thesis statement with this information, its advantages and disadvantages, and you can kind of like preview to the reader what aspects of advantages you're going to deal with and what aspects of disadvantages. For instance, in the advantages, you're going to deal with products that can benefit and help humankind or help health, focusing on health. The second element, you can say that in your thesis statement that you're going to discuss the spending on that and how the spending can be a problem for the nation. Here we go. Moving on. So now 7 big minutes for you guys to focus and write your essay introduction. Please put the essay introduction that you write in the chat box. I love reading what the students write. Here we go. Okay, wonderful introductions indeed. I was reading. I have selected one for us to look into. And the main, let's focus on this one now. I would love to read and correct each and every one, but unfortunately the clock is ticking. But I recommend that you save your writing and look for scheduling a tutorial to have your essay corrected by an expert teacher. So Ankita, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I'd like you now, all students, to focus on this one with me. The question is, are all the elements necessary in an introduction here? So remember, there is a structure in the structure. So let's consider now the introduction structure. So I'm going to open up the chat box. I ask you not to post anymore your introductions because I have read the majority of them. What I'd like now is that we discuss what is written. So are all the elements here? That means the general statement, rewrite the prompt, and the thesis statement. Does this introduction cover the three parts? I would love to give feedback on each and every one, but unfortunately, so does this essay prompt, does this essay introduction cover all three elements? So in the chat box now, please put your opinion. Yes, and the position. Let's see. So space exploration has been an area of focus in the past and will be in the generations to come. So that's a nice, the great catch of a statement sentence is that there's no conflict. It's a statement that whether you agree or disagree with space exploration, when you read the sentence, you will feel that it's okay. It's a sentence that you can agree with. It's reasonable, okay? So that's a very good sentence. I mean, whether I agree or not with investing funds, it's a true sentence to a certain extent, and there's no conflict in it. We have seen many countries investing in this area to discover new findings in this untouched territory, which would reap benefits for them in future and eventually enlighten the humankind. So here we should not have the humankind, enlighten humankind, okay, with such explorations. In this essay, we will be discussing the advantages and disadvantages of investment of money. So advance of investing money. Here we go, investing money in the field of space research. Ideally, we should use I and not we, okay? You should I here with a capital I. And what about, it's probably a typo error, not the we, but what about the position? Yes, the advantages of investing, thank you, that is true, of investing money in the field of space research. Not I would be, I will be. And the position. Where can we put the position here? I will discuss what I consider to be but you need to put a position. What I consider to be the main advantages and disadvantages. So they're not asking you to take sides, right? You don't have to take sides. You have to discuss both. Okay, that's it. Love, that's a good introduction. Here we go. That's a good sentence for this. Here we go. Let me grab. Because it's not asking you to, if you agree or disagree with this research, with this type of research. It's asking you, what are the advantages and disadvantages? Excellent, wonderful. Very nice introduction, Ankita. So all three parts are here except the position. So definitely we are missing the position here, which should be. Thank you so much for your participation. Students, that was very good participation. Now we're going to move on. Here we go. We learn a lot analyzing other essays. Can we put together we are for or against the statement at the end and discuss both the advantages and disadvantages? To a certain extent, yes, but you need to present advantages and disadvantages, definitely. Okay, here we go. Now, body one. But before we write body one, let's think a little bit. How do you score? Well, how do you get a good score on task response? So task response, it's one of the elements that will be scored. Here we go. Let's consider the high score, 7, 8, and 9. So for 7, you address all parts of the task. What does that mean in this case? Advantages and disadvantages, a clear position throughout the response. So that's another band descriptor. It has to be a clear position. Presents, extends, and supports main ideas. So that you will do in the body paragraphs. So definitely you need to have, that's why the structure of the introduction, background statement, reword the prompt, and the thesis statement, this will lead you to fulfill all of these band descriptors. Clear position, that's it, Prasanna. You're not able to understand the clear position? You need to explain that what you consider to be relevant in terms of advantages and disadvantages. Here we go. Be careful, tendency to overgeneralize. That means just listing the ideas and not really developing them. That's something that you will get a penalty for. Well, it has to be relevant to the question. Definitely your answer has to be relevant, because if not, you won't be able to address all parts of the task. That's why it's important to have the relevance. So here, notice this part of band 7. What will happen? Presents relevant main ideas, but some may be inadequately developed or unclear. Then you will go to band 6. We don't want that to happen, of course not. So once again, the band descriptors. If you're aiming for a 7, it would be nice to kind of like focus on for 8 in this element, because then there isn't a chance maybe for you to get an overgeneralized. So you present a well-developed response with relevant, extended, and supported ideas. That's how you will guarantee that you hit at least a 7. So how do you extend and support? In order to extend or support, you will ask yourself questions based on your reason or your example. That's the best way to extend your answer. So always use examples and evidence from your knowledge and experience. That's much easier to write about. As mentioned, you can also take a general example and make it a little bit more focused. So for in Canada or Canadian government or Indian government, you can use that. So use questions to guide you. As I said, challenge your mind. So why? Why is this relevant? Why is this important? What is, and how? How can this contribute? An example? What is an example of this? What have I read about this? What do I know about this? And if not, and if we don't develop this research, this type of research, of course, for this topic, I would ask myself, and if this type of research were not developed, what would happen? So let's do it. Here we go. So now we're going to be discussing the advantages. the advantages of doing. Remember, we have that plan. You have your plan as well. Now it's the time to use the plan. You will present the point, extend, present point to extend, and also, of course, your umbrella sentence. Don't forget that. I will close the chat box so it won't distract you now. Please put your writings in the chat box. I really love reading what you write. It's incredible how some students, how you write wonderful. You have wonderful ideas. Remember that the structure is important. Here we go. 7 little minutes. I'll be in the chat box if you have any questions. Okay, wonderful. I'm reading very, very well developed paragraphs here. A few twists here and there. I've been trying to reply in the chat box for grammar, plurals, for subject verb agreement. But overall, very nice paragraphs. Moedin, you have improved a lot in your writing. Congratulations on that. So some students, they attend the classes very regularly. So it's nice to see you here today. I would love to give feedback to each and every one. Of course, I choose one for us to discuss because the clock is ticking. But here in this case, we're going to move on so we can guarantee that we finish and get this done, the full essay. Body 2 now. So body 2, we're going to deal now with the disadvantages. Remember how to develop this. Umbrella sentence, if you're doing the computer-based, you can edit more, of course, than the paper-based. So that's why if your plan is designed, you can begin your paragraph writing your umbrella sentence, definitely, because you have a plan previously made. Let's move on. Body paragraph 2 now. Focus on content. Once again, I'm reading all the essays, the parts that you're sending, and trying to give feedback. So how can we write an umbrella sentence? That's a good question. It's worth discussing it briefly. The umbrella sentence, we mentioned previously that it's to prepare the reader and to inform the reader what the paragraph will discuss. So if we know that this paragraph is going to discuss disadvantages, definitely in the umbrella sentence, you have to bring in this idea of disadvantages and inform the reader that this paragraph in particular now is going to discuss the disadvantages concerning space research and better investing money in space research. Here we go. We'll be back. Please put your writings in the chat box. Okay, very good paragraphs that you send in. I tried to send some feedback in the chat box. Unfortunately, I can't really answer all. I would love to, but I can see nice words being used, nice vocabulary. So, for example, in contrast, to introduce that body paragraph 2 is going to be contrary to body paragraph 1. That's a very good way to introduce it. So, always set the correct pace. If you're doing 2 points that you agree with, you would then be adding a new opinion and a new point. So you would not use then maybe however in contrast. But in this case, advantages versus disadvantages, it's very nice. It works nicely. Here we go, moving on. So now let's look into the conclusion. So what should you do in the conclusion? You should summarize your arguments and once again, summarize your opinion. So that opinion that you put there in the introduction, it has to be once again mentioned here. Let's get that done. Wonderful. So you are going to summarize the arguments, what was discussed in body paragraph 1 and 2. That means, as well as summarize your opinion. So go back to the introduction then and use the information that you introduced. What is this essay going to discuss? Advantages and disadvantages, and what you consider to be the advantages or the benefits. Here we go. We'll be back. Focus now. Continue posting your writings in the chat box. Okay, the timer is not moving on the screen, but I have set the timer here. You still have 4 minutes and 80 seconds to go. Forgive me, there's a little glitch in the timer. So 4 minutes and 70 seconds now. Sorry, 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, wonderful. Now, once again, very nice conclusions sent in by the chat box. A few little twists, and I have tried to give feedback. Check it out there. Now, let's see what we have. Common errors. Of course, by reading and proofreading, you will reduce your errors, and that can definitely help your final score. So, whenever you have a chance, you have to really organize your time to have those 2 to 3 minutes to proofread your essay. These are the most common mistakes. It doesn't mean that, not necessarily in this order, but once you send in your assessments and you get feedback, the teachers, we point out what are your main mistakes, and also we suggest what you can do in order to improve. Links, we suggest links that you can study. So our YouTube channel has many wonderful videos, but I highly recommend, for those of you still in doubt about complex sentences, you should watch Alex's video on how to write a complex sentence. Core skills also, Prasanna, they're excellent. So make sure that you edit, reduce, because then you will reduce your mistakes, and that can be the little twist needed from a 6.5 to a 7. So be sure that this is your checklist, very valuable. This is our full essay. So how can you use this essay to help you improve? Firstly, by reading and analyzing how it was developed. So if we look at the first sentence, the general statement, it says, humankind is curious by nature, and it is this curiosity that drives our fascination with outer space. So once again, it's a sentence that, whether we agree or not that outer space or should be developed, the sentence is neutral. There's no conflict in it. Globally, there are several countries that spend billions annually on space programs that seek to send people to space, discover new planets, or simply uncover new information. In this essay, I will outline what I consider to be the two main benefits that can be gained from spending on such research, as well as some drawbacks of this investment. So by reading this introduction, what is the writer's position? The writer considers the advantages as more positive, maybe. That's the position. Although both will be discussed. That's it, Musa. The writer prefers or supports the advantages. Oh, Tosif, that's a good idea. Yes, thank you. I will open the chat box so we can have these last few minutes to discuss questions. Once again, for those of you streaming live, you should register at D2 Language and you'll be able to participate in the classes then. So the chat box is open so you guys can participate and ask questions now. I'll try to answer as many questions as possible. Okay, so the pre-test session toast, if it's a 15-minute meeting that you can have with the teacher, you can schedule to clear up those last-minute doubts that you have and questions. Okay? So Raj, the first two lines, aren't they redundant? No, they're not really redundant because the first line, the introduction, like the general statement there, it's generalized. The second one already starts to focus on the essay prompt. So what is the clear position? The clear position is that you express what is your point of view. Can we bring a long list of examples with commas, or is it a bad practice? Well, firstly, you shouldn't bring a long list of examples. You should cite one example that really refers to the point that you explained, to the point that you introduced. Be sure that your example is always, connected to what you said as your point. So so could it be instead a generic statement covering benefits and challenges? Not sure what you mean here. Can we say a balanced essay? We don't really use this. It's not common to use this expression, but discuss both sides, that would be one way. But here, they're not asking you to discuss both sides, not in this essay, but in other essays, you can have that. So instead of balanced essay, discuss both sides. It's more natural for English. So should the thesis statement be in first person? It is first person because you're putting in your position. So that's first person, definitely. So if the task, oh, the chat box is rolling a little bit too quickly. I was reading one question, hold on. So how many scores will I lose for underwords? It's not very clear how many points, but definitely you will probably will not achieve a 7 then if you underwrite, okay? Most likely you won't be able to achieve a 7 if you write less than 250. So to have a position throughout the essay, it's right here in the first paragraph, we already have the position, right? We can clearly see here the position. I will outline what I consider to be the two main benefits that can be gained from research, as well as some drawbacks. Remember, as well as and drawbacks. Here we go. Many governments invest a great deal of money in space research. So that is that's the information given. What are the advantages and potential disadvantages of spending money in space? Definitely you will have to discuss both advantages and disadvantages. Definitely. Byproducts, what are byproducts? Well, byproducts are products that result from research. Once again, now if the task says, does the advantages exceed the disadvantages? Will the thesis statement be in this form? Yes, that is a good point. So if the essay prompt asks you, do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, then definitely from the introduction, you should already deal with this concept. Or it's yes, or it's no. Okay? Do I need to make one line? Okay, yes, that's a very good point. Handban, you should have one space in between paragraphs, definitely. Both in writing, handwriting, and paper-based as computer-based, okay? So once again, we have our group classes that we mentioned and more practice. For those of you who are our members in E2 language, you can review the live classes. The self-study material is very, very valuable too. The course skills deal with the grammar points and the course itself deals with the methods. So either IELTS Academic or IELTS General. So a seal, for you to choose a teacher for a group class, you should select group classes in the left-hand menu and then see the schedules available. Oh yes, the whole essay, definitely. Let me show the whole essay again. Here we go. It was wonderful to be here with you. I hope it was productive and you were able to understand the structure. Most important is to really understand that there is a structure in the structure, the introduction, body one, body two, and the conclusion. This essay, we've developed a double idea paragraph. So we put in the point, and let's see this here now. So umbrella sentence. Certainly space exploration can bring out many positive impacts. So what does this paragraph deal with? It deals with the advantages. There we go. Then it goes, perhaps the most significant ones, ironically, are the byproducts of the technological developments. So remember our plan there? Everyday items such as sunglasses, non-stick cookware, and important medical devices like pacemakers all came about thanks to research and development in the space field. Another plus, so avoiding those mechanical markers that we mentioned in other classes. Firstly, secondly, you should put in phrases that have the equivalent meaning. So this is one example. Instead of putting secondly, another plus is the benefit to humanity. So another plus, that means secondly, another one. Very well. Yes, today was rather a difficult topic, wasn't it? And then, indeed, if we continue to deplete our natural resources and pollute our own environment, the money spent on discovering a new planet or on creating livable spaces in Mars, for instance, will be well worth it. So once again, reinforcing the position, for instance, will be well worth it. So if you analyze the vocabulary here carefully, it says the main benefits can be gained. And here it says, will be well worth it. So once again, supporting your position here. Excellent. It was wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for joining the class. Once again, for those streaming, for those live in YouTube, you can register at E2 Language. For those of you who have the tests coming up, I will pray for you all to have the energy to do a very good test and get the results that you really need. Focus on test day. Be sure to get some rest the day before and get lots of practice. That is the best way to get good results, is to get practice, get feedback on your writings, and then you will be ready to write your test. Okay, Musa, yours is the day after tomorrow. Wonderful. I would love to stay more. I have a tutorial coming up, but I will turn off the recording now and I will answer some last minute questions here. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. And for those of you who still have questions, you can stay online. I'm going to stop the recording now. Have a nice Sunday, and I'll see you guys next week again. During the week, check out the schedules. We have reading, writing, speaking, and get lots of practice. You should definitely look to get feedback on your writing, on your writings, that is. Bye now.